Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point After Talk, 888-589-8840. I want to wedge in a couple of sound bites where we go back to the phones. Remember, we had Bibi Netanyahu saying this is a historically bad deal, is a bad deal. They're even talking apparently to the Saudis because the Saudis don't like the Iranians any more than the Israelis do. A lot of people think that the Muslim world is this monolithic world. Remember, Iranians are Persians. They're completely different ethnic stock than Arab Muslims. So the Saudi Arabians, they are Arabs. The Iranian Muslims are Persians, different ethnic stock. There's a lot of racial tension between the two. You know, that conflict between Iran and Iraq for those 8 or 9 years, all the nerve gas and all that stuff, that was racial conflict as much as it was anything else, Persians against the Arabs. So even though they share the same faith tradition, they have this deep-seated racial animosity for one another. And I will flat out guarantee you the other Muslim nations in the world are scared to death of Iran. They don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon any more than Israel wants them to have a nuclear weapon because they know that the Iranians are crazy enough to use it on them. So apparently even the Israelis and the Saudi Arabians have been talking about doing something to stop Iran's nuclear capacity because it's clear the United States is not going to do it. And Bibi Netanyahu, other Israeli leaders out there saying, look, we are reserving the right to unilaterally strike Iran if we need to. They are making it very clear they feel betrayed by what Israel has done. And when you listen to this clip from John Kerry, see how that lines up with what you hear from John Kerry.
We've just seen the Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu call it a bad deal. Are you confident that you can convince him to respect it and that Israel will not take unilateral military action against the Iranian nuclear program?
Well, actually, Israel and the United States absolutely share the same goal here. There is no daylight between us with respect to what we want to achieve at this point. We both want to make it certain Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and Iran cannot be in a place where they could break out and suddenly get that nuclear weapon.
But the Prime Minister says this deal won't do that.
With this, that's not accurate. The deal is the beginning and first step. It leads us into the negotiation so that we guarantee that while we are negotiating for the dismantling, while we are negotiating for the tougher provisions.
So that's that's John Kerry. We're going to negotiate for tougher provisions. We're not going to enact them. We're not going to demand them. Not a part of this deal, but hey, we're going to keep talking to try to slow down their program. So he says there's no daylight. Well, I listened to Bibi Netanyahu. There's all these guys are not even on the same page. They're not even on the same day of the week, let alone not having any daylight between them. In fact, Naftali Bennett, he is the Minister of the Economy. He's Economy Minister, Naftali Bennett. And he was talking about the catastrophic possibilities of this deal. And he said this: if a nuclear suitcase blows up 5 years from now in New York or Madrid, it will be because of the deal that was signed this morning. He said that yesterday. So this is potentially catastrophic for the United States, for Israel, and for the West. Now let's grab clip number 2. This is a Democrat who has this assessment of John Kerry and Barack Obama's deal.
It's disappointing to me that Iran is still going to be allowed to enrich while they're talking. I would have thought that that should be a prerequisite to any kind of talks. We're not asking them to dismantle any of their centrifuges, so that's disappointing.
So that's Representative Elliot Engel, a Democrat from New York, expressing profound disappointment that the Iranians are not being asked to stop any of their centrifuges and shut them down. Here's George Will talking about the long-term implications of this deal.
New York Times, deep in its story this morning, quotes Robert Einhorn, who recently left the State Department and until he left was in charge of the enforcement of the sanctions. He says the following in defense of this deal. He says, I think the sanctions won't erode as fast as some fear. He seems to be conceding the fact that they will indeed erode. I think four things are now clear, Chris. First, there will be no U.S. attack on our negotiating partner, the Iranians. That's off the table. Probably a good thing, but now formally off the table. Second, the president has said He is not going to contain a nuclear Iran. I think that will be our policy, is containing them, because I think they're going to get the bombs. Third, the big question is, what will Israel, abetted by Saudi Arabia, which is terrified of Iran, do at this point? And fourth, will the final reaction be the proliferation of nuclear weapons in the Middle East as the Saudis seek their own arsenal?
All right, that's George Will saying, look, what we're going to wind up doing is having to spend all of our time trying to contain Iran. In other words, we've invited a new dangerous player to the field. Now we got to keep an eye on them. We got to try to contain them because we are not stopping them from building a nuclear weapon. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Cynthia, Palestine, Texas. Cynthia, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hey, yeah, it seems to me Obama has went from every angle he can from, the Germans. It seems like he's trying to tick off the whole world. Who will jump on us first? Because we're making them so mad all over the world. And plus, back in the day, when his microphone was off, he said, wait till I'm next elected and I got more maneuvering room with Russia. Who's backing Iran? Russia.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes you kind of wonder what's going on with that. But maybe he's ticking off the Saudi Arabians. He ain't doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, and it is kind of a confusing muddle over there because now you've got the possibility of Israel working with Saudi Arabia to try to take out Iran's nuclear capacity because, as George Will pointed out, the United States is not going to do it. I mean, this deal makes it very, very clear that the United States is not going to launch a military strike against Iran's nuclear capacity. And basically, they're trying to isolate Israel here and trying to marginalize Israel and put Israel in a position now where if they do take military action against Iran, which has to happen, I mean, their nuclear capacity has got to be taken out with an airstrike or some other kind of attack because they're not going to dismantle them. And we've said you can go right ahead and keep running those centrifuges to your heart's content. So Israel knows now they're going to have to act unilaterally because the U.S. is not going to be of any help. And we have just ostracized them. We've sort of, now they're really standing alone, not even alongside the United States. All right, thanks for the call, Cynthia. Let's go to J.D. in Frankfort, Indiana. J.D., welcome. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. Mr. Fisher, thank you very much for taking my call.
Yes, sir. What's on your mind?
If Obama declares martial law around election time, will that stop the election? I've heard it will.
Okay, repeat that question again.
If President Obama declares martial law during the time of election, will that stop the election?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, and this martial law question continues to come up. And, I honestly don't believe that it is going to come to that. I think that would be a bridge too far, even for Barack Obama. I think one of the things that's going on here, JD, is the Democrats are getting increasingly restive and frustrated with Barack Obama. We've got some kind of poll out today talking about his plunging popularity. I mean, Gentleman's Quarterly is a magazine. They've got Barack Obama on their least influential people of 2013. He's on the list, GQ's list, of the least influential people of the year. He's on there with Miley Cyrus, Justin Bieber, and Dennis Rodman. So his stock is plummeting like a rock. And so I think we're getting to the point where the Democrats are no longer have a knee-jerk commitment to try to defend him and protect him no matter what he does. And his poll numbers are completely upside down. I think it's 40 to 56. 56% of the American people do not find him trustworthy. That's from a CNN poll. Let's see. Americans' confidence in the president to do his job has dropped to 40%, and that's a lot of Democrats in there. That's down 12% since June, so less than half of the American people believe he is up to the job. 53%, listen to this, 53% of the American people believe that the president is untrustworthy and dishonest. Now, you and I have known that from day one. We've been part of this 53% since the first day he declared to run for office. But the American people are starting to catch up to where we have been for 5 years, and that means there's a lot of Democrats. The luster is gone. You got a lot of Democrat politicians now are freaked out about their election chances. They're afraid that Barack Obama is going to take them to the bottom of the sea. So I honestly, JD, at this point, I just do not think that Barack Obama could get away with declaring martial law. Then you'd have a question if he declared martial law, which would be wholly, completely unconstitutional for him to do. Would the military go along with that? He'd have to use the military to do that. And the military, I mean, they're being feminized and emasculated by this president, but they still have a code where they know that they are not to obey an unconstitutional or unlawful order. They know that. And a martial law edict from the president would be unconstitutional. It would be illegal. It would be unlawful. And military might be inclined to do it because of the respect they have for chain of command and all that, unless they knew from the elected representatives of the people in Congress and from the people themselves that that is not something that they were prepared to tolerate. So I frankly, you know, I could be wrong and things may change over time, but I think fears of a martial law, I think, are exaggerated. All right. Well, thank you, JD. Let's go to Gloria, Moline, Illinois. Gloria, just have about 30, 45 seconds. What's on your mind?
Okay, I think Obama knows exactly what he's doing.
Okay.
Trying to weaken the United States completely. And he doesn't believe in the Bible, so he can't be a Christian. I think he wants to destroy Israel. I think he's a Muslim at heart. I mean, everything he's done is weakening our military, everything, you know, and I think that's what he wants. He wants to bring us down. And so far, people are afraid to say anything.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I'll tell you, Gloria, thank you for the call. You know, and a lot fewer people now are hesitant to say something. And I mentioned I talked to a D.C. insider not too long ago. And everybody in D.C., if you catch them in private conversations, they believe that Barack Obama is a Muslim. Now, they're not at the point where they're willing to go public and say that, but they're saying it to each other. So I think we're getting close to all pretense being dropped and people starting to tell exactly what they think about Barack Obama. Focal Point AFR Talk. We'll be back after the news. Stay with us.